on February 6, 2024. While this meeting is being broadcast via Zoom, oral public comment may only be provided live at the City Council chambers. Will City Clerk, please take the roll call.
Councilmember Barbadillo,
It's not on here. Dan, can you, I don't have the council members on here. The names are not on here to call on them. Okay. All right. Sorry about that.
Councilmember Barbadillo,
It's not working. Councilmember Barbadillo is here.
Vice Mayor Chua,
Yeah, I don't think it is. So, yeah, Vice Mayor Chua is here.
Councilmember Leanne,
Councilmember Lynn is here.
Councilmember Fan, Mayor Montano.
And I am here. Thank you very much. So before we adjourn to closed session, City Attorney Mutalapasi, please brief the public on the closed session items for today.
Thank you, Mayor. Today you have two items on for your consideration. Item A, conference with legal counsel pursuant to GC 54956.9. This is the matter of Kevin Moscusa versus City of Milpitas, AGJ number 1697236. Item B, you have a conference with legal counsel existing litigation pursuant to the same government code. This is County Sanitation District 2-3 et al. Versus City of San Jose, and it's in the Santa Clara Superior Court, case number 18CV325480.
Thank you very much. And I will call for public comment on any of those items for closed session. Anyone from the public have any comments on that? If not, we are going to close the public comment and adjourn to closed session. Thank you.
I don't know. It wasn't. I lied.
Yeah, everybody goes there.
We have to wait. Right at 7 o'clock. That's procedure protocols. About 5 more minutes, 6 more minutes. It is now 7 p.m. and we are opening up this meeting. And City Attorney, would you please report out closed session?
Thank you, Mayor. At this time, you considered both matters, and there's nothing to report out on either matter.
Thank you so much. And now, everyone, let's rise up for the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? Would anybody like to?
Yes. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much for that. And then now we will move on to the invocation, and our Councilmember Barbadillo will present the invocation for this evening. Oh.
Let us put ourselves in the presence of God. We just want to thank the Lord for providing us all the blessings in our lives, and we ask Him to continue guiding us in our everyday life. And we wanted to commit the wisdom, this council will make decisions for the city in His grace. We pray in God's name, Amen.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Barbadillo. And then now we will do presentations, and I invite the council members to come down to the floor. Okay, so what I will do the presentations for the students. And so we have a couple of students. Let's see. Can you help me with this, Arisha? So in honor of your accomplishments for the Synopsis Championship Science Fair, these project titles are, I guess they're all the same, or are they different? Everyone has a different project title? Yeah, different
Yes.
title. But so the city of Milpitas recognizes Risha Jane for participating in the 2023 Synopsis Championship Science Fair presented by the Santa Clara Valley Science and Engineering Fair Association. Thank you so
Hey.
much. And then we're all going.
I would like to thank my teachers and my parents for supporting me. Without them and their support, I couldn't have been able to complete this project. So thank you for helping me and supporting me.
And the next one is to Aiden Yang. And the project title is What is the Effect on pH and on Bacterial Growth?
Right. First, I'd like to thank my teacher and school for supplying me with the supplies I needed to conduct my experiment. During my experiment, I grew a strain of Escherichia coli on growth mediums of pH 2, 7, and 9 to test the peak of bacterial growth under certain environmental conditions. And under certain pH levels, certain vital macromolecules will dissolve, forcing microbes to adapt to their environment in order to either prevent the dissolving of the molecules or to entirely circumvent their use.
And may we call on Maitre Singhal. Congratulations.
I would like to thank my parents and my teacher for supporting me throughout the process of building this project. My project was a smart sprinkler to save water, which worked based on automation and watered plant based on the time and the requirements to help the droughts in California. Thank you.
The next one is very interesting. In both in science and medicine, it's the project is building a wearable device to measure Parkinson's tremors. I would like to call and congratulate Ashraya Sirvo. And if you could enlighten us with your project.
I would like to thank my family, especially my grandfather, because he inspired this project because he has Parkinson's disease. So I wanted to help him and I built a device to measure tremors using an Arduino board. And I would also like to thank my teacher for providing the resources to help me do this. No.
This next commendation goes to Spencer Liu for an Arduino vehicle warning system using LiDAR sensor.
Can we call on the recipients and the parents as well? Oh, one more. Oh, you.
Okay, this is for Chillingham. Come on up. Thank you for your accomplishment.
So thank you so much to my mentor, Dr. Nelson, and also to my mom who has continuously supported me through this journey. My project was SS geolocator, finding geographic coordinates from a non-GPS approach. So I basically built a low-cost embedded systems to be able to find your geographic coordinates without the use of GPS, and I used that by incorporating a single board computer and an edge AI device. Thank you.
Oh. I'm gonna everybody. Can we call on Police Chief and also Fire Chief Jason and Police Chief Gerard?
I okay. I'm here because of my students. I have amazing bunch of students, very inquisitive, really smart students. I only provide the framework for them to get started, and they do their project. And I'm super proud of them. And thank you, Milpitas Mayor and the City Council for recognizing and felicitating them. It means a lot to them. More encouragement to the students. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone, for coming here. This is so great to see students working hard, especially with the technology just advancing so much. So proud of you. So now we are going to do a presentation for Rare Disease Day. This is founded in 2008. Rare Disease Day is the official international awareness raising campaign for rare diseases, which takes place on the last day of February each year. A patient-led campaign, it highlights the challenges of over 300 million individuals impacted by rare diseases throughout the world. Please join me, Mayor Carmen Montano, and the Milpitas City Council in proclaiming February 29, 2024 as Rare Disease Day in the city of Milpitas. Thank you, everyone. So we have a proclamation here to give. And Mr. Briones, are you in the house? Mr. Briones in the house? So he was supposed to come and accept it, but I guess he can't make it. So we will send it to him. Okay. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Thank you. Okay, now this meeting is back to order. So now let's move on to the public forum. Members of the public are invited to speak on any item that does not appear on today's agenda. Please note that oral public comment may only be provided live at the city council meeting in person. Public forum will be limited to 2 minutes. So I will call for speakers. City clerk, are there any cards?
I have no speaker cards.
Is there anybody that would like to come and speak? Is that Charles? Yeah, hi, come on up, come on up. He said, what? Nice to see you again. Welcome. I don't hear yours. I think you have to go to that one. Still don't hear you. I don't think that little light has to be red.
Oh, there you go. No, it's not working. Oh, you hear me? Okay, okay. So hi, Charles, everybody should know me. Hi, council, Mayor Montano and everybody, council members. I'm here today, just randomly. I'm coming here because I was just shopping at Safeway and the manager talked to me. And I was like, well, what's going on? And now I have several stores coming forward to me saying that the city is requiring them to join the city program. But not after required to join the city program. That's not an option. And they're charging $12 a cart. It's companies out of LA. I know all the people. I know the cart company. I know the cart retrievers. I know all that. And they're asking me to do the carts for them. And I don't know what to do yet. I mean, I still got my wife and things going on. But they're asking me. And along those lines, in the meantime, they're asking me to do the carts. Like I said, they're charging $12 a cart. We never made more than $3 a cart. And now these cards, the city's gonna bind them, these stores, and on top of that, they're gonna charge $12 a card. I don't think that's fair. It's supposed to be cooperation from the stores, the city, the vendors should be all cooperative. And along those lines, one of the stores gave me this paperwork that you can apply to not be in the city program, but the city gets to decide if they accept it or not. So basically, it's the cities get to decide if you're in the program or not. That doesn't make any sense to me. It's like they could decide not to let anybody, so then you have no choice. So that doesn't make any sense to me. So I'm like basically speaking on behalf of some store owners because they've come to me and they have some questions and like they said, they've contacted me. And at this time, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I just want to let you know what's going on.
Yeah.
So, and also along those lines, a store actually, they went to the yard and the city was throwing they're in the program. The city was actually dumping their carts without their knowledge. They're destroying their carts. And that wasn't correct either. So,
Okay. Thank you so much for that information. And I'm sure our city attorney is listening and so is our city managers.
Any
So
questions?
that way we can follow up and see what's going on. Can you leave a copy of that to our city clerk? Or do we have a copy?
This should
of
be
it?
your copy. I mean, this is.
Oh, okay. It's a city one. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
All
And then
right.
that's a question too, because it has the employee's name on here, but I contacted him and he says I wasn't allowed to contact him. And then on top of that, he didn't have any information. He goes, I don't know anything. I don't know anything. I'm like, but your name's on the paperwork. And he said, I don't know anything. You need to contact
Really?
someone else. I'm like, well,
Okay.
that's weird. So I just
Well,
wanted
we'll
to
get to the bottom of this.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm glad that you came before the city council to make us aware what's going on. Thank you. And the next, Miss Allison McDonald.
I didn't
Welcome.
fill out a card, but it felt weird to just sit there and not say anything. As some of you know, I am moving and I'm just back in town for a week after vacation, and then planning to be house hunting out of the area. And I
Speak closer to the mic.
I tried to
Okay,
put it out,
thank
but-
you.
Okay, is that better? Thanks. I wanted to express my appreciation to the council, to city staff, especially city manager, Parks and Recreation staff, because I've had a lot of dealings with them as president of the neighborhood association over the years. It's been a pleasure to work with them. And Milpitas has really been a great place to live. I felt like really part of a community here. It's easy to get to know our community leaders and to be able to meet with them, talk to them about things, express what is important to us. And I wanted to express appreciation and say I'm going to miss you all. I'm going to miss Milpitas. Thank you.
Thank you, Allison. Thank you for all the hard work you did for our community. Thank you. Hey, is there anyone else that would like to speak? Oh, Mr. Montemayor. Welcome.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the City Council, and city managers and staff. Thank you. Yeah, sometimes I have a long talk, sometimes very short. This one should be just very short. Like I like the presentations today. Yeah, I could tell that some even the kids now are trying to learn simple as the coding now, or some like sine waves. And some high school are doing the advanced studies for credit for college now. So I admire them. And the rare disease we have to watch ourselves. I mean, whoever have the kind of noticing a rare disease, so we'll take care of each other. And thanks for the city. And about the flooding, strong rains and winds. I know Milpitas is not as bad as the other cities. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Montemayor. Is there anyone else that would like to come up? Come on up, please.
Hello,
Hey.
Council, Mayor. I am Sophia Wright, Charles and Alice's daughter. I just kind of want to reiterate it about the carts. Obviously, I've been around them for 20 years, right? And I've kind of seen how the program has gone and disintegrated and reinvented itself. And I kind of just want to reiterate how big of a disconnect there feels like, just beyond like the services being provided and also the stores don't feel like they know what's going on. Managers, obviously each store is different and they have different needs, but it just feels like there's a disconnect all over the board regarding the carts. So I just want to make you guys aware of that. Hopefully, something comes out of that. Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming up here and speaking up. No, I have to talk about this. Thank you. Moving on to the announcements of the conflict of interest. Campaign contribution, City Attorney.
Thank you, Mayor. I ask you and each of the council members whether he or she has any financial or personal conflict of interest related to any of the items on tonight's agenda.
Councilmember Barbadillo,
None.
Vice Mayor Chua,
None.
Councilmember Lian,
None.
Councilmember Fan,
None.
Mayor Montano.
And I am a none.
I further ask whether the members of the Milpitas City Council to please disclose any campaign contributions of $100 or more received within the last 12 months from any of the parties entering into contracts with the city on tonight's agenda, or contributions received from the development project applicant for development projects on tonight's agenda.
Councilmember Barbadillo,
None.
Vice Mayor Chua,
None.
Councilmember Lian,
None.
Councilmember Fan,
None.
Mayor Montano.
And I am none.
Let the record reflect there are no reported conflicts.
Thank you, City Attorney. So now we will move on to the reading of the Code of Conduct. Is there anyone here that would like to read this code? Volunteer? If not, I will read it. So. Okay. Councilmember Barbadillo.
Thank you, Mayor. Milpitas City Council Code of Conduct. Be respectful and courteous. Model civility. Avoid surprises. Praise publicly and criticize privately. Focus on the issue, not the person. Refrain from using electronic devices while on the council days. Disclose conflicts of interest and affiliations related to the agenda items. The council speaks with one voice after making policy on issues. Respect the line between policy and administration. Council will hold another accountable to comply with this code of conduct.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Barbadillo. And now moving on to the approval of the agenda. Is there anyone that would like to make any changes to the agenda? I don't see anyone. So is there a motion? Is there a motion?
So moved.
So it's a motion by Vice Mayor Chua. Is there a second? And there's a second. And there's a second by Councilmember Lian. Okay, so now we'll go for the vote.
Councilmember Barbadillo,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Chua,
Aye.
Councilmember Lian,
Aye.
Councilmember Fan,
Aye.
Mayor Montano.
And I'm an aye. Thank you for that. So then we're moving on to the consent calendar. So we'll take, does anyone have, any staff have any changes to the consent calendar? City manager?
No changes, Mayor. Thank you.
And anyone from the council have any changes to the consent calendar? To pull anything or? I don't see anybody. I think, oh, Vice Mayor. Hold on.
I'd like to pull C9 briefly, just a quick question. Thank you.
Okay, so C9 is being pulled. Anyone else? I would also like to pull C6. So C9 and C6. And okay, so then those are the two items that will be discussed after our dialogue on the agenda. Okay, so now we will go to public comment. So now public comment. Is there anyone that would like to make any comments on this, on the consent calendar from the public? We see Allison McDonald. I think your mic's not on. Staff, can you turn her mic on? Ned, I mean, not Ned, Dan, I mean.
Hi, thank you. Thank you, Mayor Montano and City Council. I just wanted to speak on behalf of the Sunny Hills Neighborhood Association and the Juneteenth subcommittee, which is planning our event for June 15th of this summer. And we applied for an arts and culture grant back in October, I believe, and understand that it had to come to City Council for final approval. Some of you were able to attend the event last year. We're looking forward to doing a bigger, better event this year. Last year was our kind of trial balloon and it went well. So we're looking forward to doing that again. And we hope that the council will see fit to approve that grant that was recommended by the Arts and Culture Commission to give us that kickstart to the event, which allows us use of the park, the open space permit, as well as some help with promoting the event. We understand that the stage is not available this year, and we'll be making other arrangements to have a stage available for our band and DJ and presenters. So thank you again very much, and very much for last year's support. It meant so much because as the first community-based Juneteenth event, it wouldn't have happened without that support. So I look forward to it again and hope you can all put June 15th on your calendar for this year. Thank you.
Thank you very much for those comments. Okay, now all right, so now there is one item that I forgot to pull that I would like to pull, C5. So C9, C6, and C5. We call for public comment. Now, is there a motion and a second? Yeah. Now we have Vice Mayor Chua.
Move to approve consent calendar with C5, C6, and C9 being pulled.
There a second? If not, I can second.
Second.
And it has been seconded by Councilmember Lynn. Okay, now ready for the vote.
Councilmember Barbadillo,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Chua,
Aye.
Councilmember Lian,
Aye.
Councilmember Fan,
Aye.
Mayor Montano.
And I'm an aye. Thank you very much. Okay, now moving on to the Leadership and Support Services, City Manager.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Montano. I'll turn the time over to our city attorney to cover this item, which is an ordinance related to the delivery of cannabis within the community.
Thank you. As the council may remember, in November, we brought you an ordinance related to SB 1186 and the delivery of medicinal cannabis within the city of Milpitas. State regulations changed on January 1st, requiring cities to allow for some limited medicinal cannabis deliveries within those jurisdictions. In November, you gave us feedback about changes you would like to see to the ordinance before enacting it. And what we're bringing you today is the changes as we understand you've requested. With that, I'll turn the time over to Christopher Creech, our Assistant City Attorney, who has a presentation for you on the changes that have been made since the November date.
Good evening, Mayor and members of City Council. As you know, our current ordinance prohibits cannabis businesses within Milpitas to the fullest extent allowed by state. That ordinance came about after 2 years of extensive study led by the council and the cannabis subcommittee, including some of the members currently sitting on the council. It had significant public input, including one of the largest public meetings in recent memory, where we received a significant amount of public feedback. That ordinance is obviously subject to changes in state law, and one of them has happened in the interim. SB 1186 now requires jurisdictions like Milpitas to allow the delivery of medicinal cannabis to cannabis patients and their primary caregivers. What we're bringing back to you tonight is a proposal that will preserve the current ban to the full extent allowed by state law. It will regulate these deliveries now required by state law and will put into place sensible regulations in order to ensure that cannabis actually reaches the medicinal cannabis patients that SB 1186 was targeting. It also, in response to Council's directions from the November meeting, is going to bring forward changes to tighten the enforcement on illegal deliveries within Milpitas' borders. Next slide, please. Just to recap, SB 1186, it went into effect on January 1st. Now, the local jurisdictions like Milpitas cannot directly or effectively prohibit the delivery of medicinal cannabis to either cannabis patients or their primary caregivers. The law expressly allows for local jurisdictions like Milpitas to adopt reasonable regulations on how that delivery occurs. And it expressly allows jurisdictions like Milpitas to continue any prohibition or other locally adopted rules for any other form of cannabis besides deliveries to primary caregivers and their medicinal cannabis patients of medicinal cannabis. Next slide, please. So this proposal is building on top of the proposed regulations that came forward in November to you. It's not taking anything away. Again, some of those regulations are identified on this slide. Deliveries are to be to identified patients or their primary caregivers. That is no one else but what 1182 requires cities to allow. To obtain state required documentation for patients and primary caregivers to prove that they're qualifying under that law. To deliver to a patient's residence or to a primary caregiver's business address, no delivering to street corners or schools or Amazon drop boxes or other anonymous locations. Deliveries are to be signed for by a person 18 years of age or older, either the patient or their primary caregiver. That is, no minors receiving deliveries. Deliver medicinal cannabis or medicinal cannabis products only, no add-ons, no accessories, no paraphernalia. Deliver peacefully between 6 a.m. and 10 p.m. as recommended by the police department. Don't disturb the peace of neighbors and other persons in the community. Delivery services must register with Milpitas Police Department. They must maintain a business license and pay all local taxes and fees. They must maintain all required documentation and make them available to law enforcement. That violations are punishable by administrative citations or misdemeanors or infractions. And that the city manager is authorized in consultation with the chief of police to adopt further regulations in order to effectuate any whatever the council adopts. Next slide, please. So now I'd like to go over some of the parts that we've added since November. This is again in response to council's direction to tighten enforcement against illegal deliveries. The city attorney's office, in coordination with the police department, have been working to bring back a proposal to meet those objectives that council put forward. One of the first parts that we've changed is to have an education first and enforcement second approach. That is meant to be that businesses will be educated about whatever law the council chooses to pass. That is to make it fair to businesses so that they know that it's required of them. But it's also to address a root cause. While ignorance of the law is not a defense, this will make sure that the police department can target resources on persistent violators, for those who are aware of the law and continue to violate it. Additionally, it is not just prohibiting unlawful deliveries, but also attempts or offers to deliver in violation of the city's law. That is so that this education first process can start immediately before a delivery ever occurs. It also is to address a concern that was brought up at the last council meeting, that the police department would have to catch someone in the process of a delivery in order to know that they're delivering unlawfully. It also joins up with the state required as well as the locally required documentation and to make any delivery that's illegal as shown in that documentation a per se violation, to make it establish a rebuttable presumption of any violation shown in those delivery records and ledgers. Additionally, is to clarify that the police department has the authority to prohibit or condition all deliveries within Milpitas based upon prior violations. So if a business is delivering unlawfully or otherwise violating our laws, they can be prohibited not just from delivering recreational cannabis, but also medicinal cannabis. It establishes a 1-year cooling off period for that prohibition, which is consistent with how other adult businesses are regulated in Milpitas. It makes successor businesses responsible as if they were the original business. That is, the businesses cannot reorganize in order to avoid these kinds of penalties if they do continue to violate the law. And while this ordinance is forward-looking, it is also not excusing prior violations. Prior violations are under the old ordinance would still be allowed to be the basis for enforcement action going forward. It would also be allowable to be a basis for suspending, prohibiting, or conditioning the registration with the police department and the ability for businesses to deliver within Milpitas. Next slide, please. Again, the SB 1186 prohibits two things. Those ordinances that directly prohibit cannabis deliveries to medicinal cannabis patients, but also those that effectively prohibit deliveries. And something that we talked about at the last meeting is that this is an opportunity for the council to declare that the city's ordinances are consistent with that directive. That is, that it doesn't effectively prohibit cannabis patients from receiving medicinal cannabis. The ordinance would preserve to the fullest extent allowed by law the current ban. It would reasonably regulate new medicinal cannabis deliveries, but also fulfill this requirement of allowing delivery to medicinal cannabis patients through deliveries from other jurisdictions outside of the city limits. The San Jose Police Department Division of Cannabis Control reports that there are 12 delivery services in San Jose alone, every one of which is advertising delivery to Milpitas currently, and the police department has confirmed through calls to those businesses they're willing to deliver. There is, through a survey done by staff, over 40 other businesses that are currently advertising delivery within the city limits in a 1-hour radius. And as discussed previously and as shown on that map in green, there are ample other locations in the surrounding area where businesses can establish cultivation, retail, delivery, distribution, and manufacture in order to be able to deliver and fulfill any need in Milpitas. There are literally thousands of different kinds of cannabis products being advertised for delivery into Milpitas currently. Next slide, please. If passed, the proposal from staff is also to have community outreach. That is to provide a press release and educate the community about this change in the law, about SB 1186 and the need for this change in the law, to emphasize the changes in rules and the regulations that are required, and to highlight the new comprehensive local regulation. This would also be circulated through social media, both through citywide and police channels. In addition, there would also be, as discussed before, the education first approach for the individual businesses. They would be sent a letter telling them and advising them of the different changes in law, whatever the council adopts, including any obligation to register with the Milpitas Police Department. And then there would be ongoing education from the police department as new businesses are identified or as businesses do or do not register with the police department. Next slide, please. If the council wishes to move forward with adoption of this ordinance, then you bring a motion to waive reading beyond the title, to make findings of exemption from environmental review, and to introduce the ordinance tonight. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for that great presentation. And so now I will call on public comment. Is there anyone from the public that would like to comment on this topic? Mr. Montemayor, please.
Thank you.
Your mic's not working. Hold on, wait till that little red light goes on.
Thank you. Okay. Yeah, originally, if I remember, we absolutely know of that business before, but now I can see one of the wordings there that education first before enforcement of the law. I can see the fairness over there. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to comment on this topic? Surprise. I see none. Then we will go on to our council, to the city council and discuss this new ordinance. So let me have, I see Vice Mayor Chua.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to give a shout out to our Assistant City Attorney and very good presentation. And also, I think from the last meeting, you and the Office of City Attorney were able to incorporate our feedback to to your recommendation. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Vice Mayor. And now we're moving on to Councilmember Barbadillo.
Thank you, Mayor. First of all, I want to re-comment on Mr. Montemayor's statement. He said, originally, we don't want cannabis. We still don't. It's just that the state law, which controls, the cities over California, had a power to regulate and define what the cities can do. And this is exactly what we are trying to do now. And like the vice mayor, I commend the city attorney's office and the police for understanding the will of the people in 2017-18 and making sure up until today that we are here to protect the community. So, first question. So, this new law from the state just means it only applies to medicinal cannabis products. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And it's not about selling medicinal cannabis in Milpitas, but it is an ordinance that would enhance or that would define the state law that now allows delivery of medicinal cannabis to all over California.
That's right. The proposed ordinance is to preserve the ban to the fullest extent allowed by law, to allow the delivery of medicinal cannabis, which is required now by state law, but to reasonably regulate consistent with that change in the law.
Great. So, so we have put some safeguards on the ordinance as tight as we can, with focusing on education and enforcement. Just one question. So, with regards to and in relation to medical privacy, so how do we make sure that the delivery in Milpitas is either the patient himself or herself and or the primary care provider?
The ordinance as proposed requires delivery services to deliver to a specifically identified patient or their primary caregiver that is identified an individual. It also requires the delivery service to obtain the documentation required by the state to show proof of qualification to receive medicinal cannabis from that identified patient or that primary caregiver. Only once they have that documentation are they allowed to deliver to the individual, and they're only allowed to deliver to either that individual or identified primary caregiver for the individual.
So this ordinance will make sure that delivery goes to the right person that needs a medicinal cannabis.
That's correct.
Okay. So will it be true as well that this ordinance will protect those known or unknown delivery of non-medicinal marijuana or cannabis in Milpitas?
That's right. Part of the changes from council's direction from the last meeting was to tighten enforcement. One of the ways that we have done that is through having a requirement that documentation showing unlawful delivery would itself be proof of a violation. Delivery services are now required for every single delivery, both under state law and under proposed regulations, to identify if a delivery is medicinal or not, to identify the patient, to identify the city that's delivered in. So that documentation provides all of the information necessary to show if the delivery was to a medicinal cannabis patient or not. The city's regulations would add on top of that requirement for getting that proof of qualification to receive medicinal cannabis. So through the documentation itself, we can have an efficient enforcement process. So that if the education first approach doesn't work, then enforcement is there and the penalties have been set at the highest amount and with the strictest penalties allowed by state law.
So with this ordinance, every known delivery agency or company will have to register with our police department. Is that true?
Anyone who is going to deliver into Milpitas must register before they attempt, offer, or actually deliver to Milpitas. If the businesses are advertising in any way, shape, or form, and the police department looks and they do not have that registration, then that would trigger this education first, enforcement second approach. Give them an opportunity to bring themselves into compliance by registering. And if they do not, then to take appropriate enforcement action.
Right. So this ordinance not only covers the actual delivery, but also once these companies advertises delivery to Milpitas, and we can regulate them. We can require them to register just by mere intention of advertising this kind of delivery, right?
That's correct. One of the updates we've put in from council's direction from the last meeting is to have the prohibition extend not just to deliveries themselves, but also offers or attempts to deliver, offers in whatever form. That could be advertisements. But if you're going to say, I will deliver, you do not actually have to complete that delivery before that education first, enforcement second process can start.
Right. So on your first slide, I believe that we have reached out, or we know some delivery companies that operates in San Jose, and there are would-be takers for this business that we know of, right?
Correct.
And all of these entities will now have to register with us if they do want to serve the Milpitas medical cannabis community.
That's correct.
Right. And most, or if not all, these companies also delivers recreational cannabis. Do they?
That's correct. I do not know of any of the businesses that were identified in that survey that delivered purely medicinal cannabis. I think every single one of them also delivered recreational cannabis to other jurisdictions.
All right. So I believe this ordinance, as written as it is, will now be able to make sure that these registered companies that delivers both medicinal and recreational cannabis would be in check. Because now we know that one, they cannot deliver recreational cannabis here, but on a strict requirements, they can deliver a medicinal cannabis.
That's right. So that education first, that direct letter to businesses, advertising delivery, or who may be likely to deliver to Milpitas, that letter would be telling them you can only deliver medicinal cannabis, not recreational, no accessories, no add-ons, only to qualifying patients. You better have the documentation for that patient to show that they are qualifying. And if that process does not work, if the education doesn't work, if they don't get the registration, if they don't comply with the law, if they're delivering anything else, then we have an efficient process for enforcement on the back end for persistent and known violators.
Right. So can you remind us again what would be the penalty should there be violation of this ordinance?
So the penalties could be, there are multiple options, different tools in the toolbox for law enforcement to use. There could be administrative citations, which are at the maximum penalties set by state law, $100 for a first violation, $200 for a second, $500 for a third violation or more within 1 year. Those are per violation per day. There are also civil penalties that can be assessed and enforced under the city's regular process for that. Action can be taken against someone's license, both at the local level to revoke, suspend, or condition their registration with the police department, but also at the state level to take action against their state license and their ability to deliver anywhere. There's obviously also the availability of civil actions and other kinds of enforcement mechanisms. And finally, criminal violations. These can be charged as either misdemeanors or infractions at the discretion of the enforcement act.
With the penalty of termination, revocation, or a suspension of their license, would they be reported to the state licensing for this kind of business, if you know?
So the Department of Cannabis Control is the entity at the state level that's responsible for state licensing. Violations of their rules and regulations can be reported to them as well as local violations. They ultimately are the ones who administer that program and can decide to take action or not on the state license. The Milpitas Police Department, of course, can obviously take immediate action on any violation at the local level.
All right, so we do have under this ordinance the authority to suspend their permit or license to operate business in Milpitas, which includes delivery of medical cannabis.
That's correct.
And this change from the states is inevitable. It is something that we do not have a control of, other than trying to work around it, to make sure that it's quickly served, and we protect the community from illegal deliveries. I think
That's right. The state has passed SB 1186. It was done specifically to take away local control and to prevent local authorities from deciding in a contrary fashion. It creates penalties and the ability to bring legal actions against cities that do not comply. But it also, by law, gives a blanket allowance to anyone to deliver in contravention of any ordinance that either directly or effectively prohibits the delivery of medicinal cannabis. So even if the city did not take action to create regulations on how to restrict this, the state law would already now be allowing individuals to ignore any contrary provisions of any ordinance statewide.
And this new state law does not allow dispensaries, stores, or any form of retail in Milpitas.
That's right. The law is not requiring the establishment except in jurisdictions where the absence of an establishment would effectively prohibit deliveries. As indicated at the last presentation, the documentation provided in the materials, as well as the presentation today, there's multiple, a plethora of different delivery services operating nearby, willing to deliver to Milpitas, advertising deliveries, thousands of different products, as well as an abundance of different jurisdictions where businesses could establish in the future if demand was to suddenly increase.
I think I missed this during our discussion. Would there be something that would make sure that medicinal cannabis recipients, patients, are not able to dispose of their medicinal cannabis other than for self-use? There's something to that effect.
So the ordinance prohibits any delivery service, and delivery service is defined as an individual or entity or business of any kind who's delivering medicinal cannabis for profit. And that's what this SB 1186 is allowing, is the delivery for profit. The delivery not for profit, that is the traditional growing in a community or something like that, is already allowed by state law. For what you're talking about, though, of if an individual was for profit, making deliveries to someone else, acquiring more than what they need for their own personal use, and then themselves becoming a delivery service, a vendor within Milpitas' borders, that would still be prohibited. Both the establishment, the business itself within the city's borders is prohibited as a land use under all circumstances, and the delivery from any location, whether outside the city or within the city, in violation of the city's ordinance would also be a violation.
All right, so just to understand, so let's say patient A made a delivery, purchase and delivery online, or anybody or any of these company that makes delivery, and instead of using it, either for profit or otherwise delivers this to another person, he would be considered as an establishment or someone who delivers for purposes of this ordinance?
To clarify,
Right.
the establishment of no cannabis business is allowed within the city limits,
Okay.
however small, however big. So any kind of a business establishment, whether by an individual or a company or a corporation, is prohibited. If someone was simply delivering from a Milpitas location to somewhere else, not cultivating, not manufacturing, not retail selling, simply delivering to someone else, that would also be prohibited. The ordinance as proposed does not distinguish between the size of the business doing the delivery, does not distinguish between the amount being delivered. It does not distinguish between any other characteristics based on volume or anything else. If you are delivering medicinal cannabis within the city's limits, you're subject to its ordinance.
So that patient recipient will be misusing a supposedly a self consumption of delivered medicinal cannabis would further retail it, will not be only violating this ordinance, but will also be violating any other legislations that would and that had prohibit cultivation or selling or possession of that I can think of in Milpitas, right?
That's right. A medicinal cannabis patient who steps out of that role as a medicinal cannabis patient and effectively becomes a distributor or delivery service themselves are operating as a business and would be potentially subject to regulation and our laws.
Has any other city have this ordinance legislation already in response to the new state law?
There are a number of different cities that, similar to Milpitas, did not allow for cannabis businesses within their borders. I think, pardon me, one more minute, I'll get the exact number. 56% of the cities within California do not allow any kind of cannabis business within their borders. Of those jurisdictions, many of them responded to 1186 similarly to the city. Some of those jurisdictions decided to allow the operation of non-storefront delivery locations from inside of their jurisdiction. Others of them did a similar approach to what is being proposed right now, which is to only allow deliveries occurring from outside the city's limits.
And we are not allowing, as I remember you had presented storefronts or drop-offs for medicinal cannabis delivery.
That's right. Every single city now must allow the delivery of medicinal cannabis. Some cities have chosen to do that by allowing the establishment of storefront or non-storefront delivery locations within their borders, where the current proposal is not to take that more permissive approach, but to maintain the ban to the fullest extent allowed by state law, which includes continuing to prohibit the establishment of any cannabis business within the city's limits.
All right. Well, thank you. I think I have a question or two for the chief. Thank you, Chris.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Jared Hernandez serving as your police chief.
Can I follow up before you ask your question? One of the questions I heard you ask the city attorney had to do with private hand-to-hand sales. I'm a patient. I want to sell it or give it to a friend of mine. That's still prohibited under the health and safety code. So that would still be a violation of California law. You can only sell marijuana if you're properly licensed. So that individual A would not be properly licensed to give or sell to person B.
Okay, so it would be worse for a patient delivery to resell it because that person will not only be violating our new ordinance, but also violating the health and safety code regarding sale or retail resale.
That is correct.
More stringent penalty, I believe.
Correct.
For him. Okay. Chief, are we ready for the enforcement of this ordinance?
I believe we are. The ordinance that's being presented to you is a collaborative effort between the city attorney's office, the police department, and there's also been some conversation with how that may integrate code enforcement as well to help on the administrative side. So we're ready.
Okay. And do you believe that this ordinance would help curb, the known and unknown illegal deliveries of cannabis, whether it's medicinal or recreational in Milpitas?
I believe it will. I think that the education first approach is going to inspire some of the businesses that are already operating to follow the proper processes and register with the department. It will also help improve if officers were to stop a car or come across a situation that they need to investigate. When these businesses are already registered with us, it gives us a point of contact, which is going to save some time, verify that what they're doing is correct. There's also, as I mentioned earlier, opportunity to utilize other resources within the city, such as code enforcement, to help. We would have to acquire as a law enforcement agency, we're the only ones authorized to request the records and receive them. And then at that point, we can share the wealth as far as workload. I think it's going to be a little bit of a work in progress at first. We may fine tune this and come back to council in the future, but I think it's definitely a very solid foundation as a starting point.
So did we cover any delivery company that will not register for this purpose? Did we cover that in the ordinance?
So if they didn't register with us, then they would automatically be in violation of the ordinance, which would allow us to issue administrative citations. I mean, if we're being completely realistic, when it comes to business violations, usually fines are more effective. And so this does have that built into its structure. And I think that one of the things that I don't know if the city assistant city attorney pointed out is that these are not, these are aggregate. So each time they do it is a new violation. So that means a new fine. So it can get very expensive very quickly if they choose to intentionally not follow the rules.
So registered or not, these delivery agencies are covered by this.
Correct.
Well, nothing further. Thanks
Thank
for
you,
the
sir.
input.
Of course.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else that would like to make any comments and have Councilmember Lynn?
I said, wait, don't leave.
I thought that was a, hey, great job, wave. Sorry.
Thank you. Since you said that there will be a fine for anyone who violates your ordinance, do you know yet what is the fine?
That's probably better for the city attorney. I believe it's $500, but I'm not 100% sure. Amount allowed by state law. So by state law, the maximum for first violation is $100, second violation $200, third violation $500. That is within 1 year, and it is per violation. So if you deliver 3 times in 1 day, we're already at the $500, and it's $500 every single delivery thereafter for the rest of it.
Okay. And if a business violates the ordinance, can you explain to me what is that 1 year cooling off?
Yes. So the way that the 1 year cooling off period works is the same as other adult businesses regulated in the city, which is that once a registration has been revoked, that is, the allowance to be able to deliver medicinal cannabis within Milpitas has been revoked. The business cannot reapply for a new registration for at least 1 year. The prior violations can still be a factor in conditioning any future registration that is granted to a business, depending on the severity of the past violations. And again, reorganized businesses, that is, a business can't just change its name and then avoid that 1 year cooling off period.
That's what I want to verify. Okay. So let's say a business violates that and they looked at this and go, oh, there's a 1 year cooling off period. Can they sell the business? Move to San Jose, for example. Now that they're not in our city, they can move anywhere they want and they can start a new business in San Jose. Is that correct?
That's right. A business can establish themselves in any other jurisdiction. They can also deliver or conduct business in any other jurisdiction. That's obviously beyond the city limits and what the city gets to control. But yes, those parts would be subject to state regulations and those other cities' regulations.
Is there a I don't know, a way to help to help new buyers to the business who violates the ordinance? Let's say you violate the ordinance and you don't want to deal with the 1 year cooling off, then you say, hey, hon, I have a business I want to sell to you. How do I find out that if that business or your business is in violation?
So if a business wanted to inquire about if a prior business had its registration revoked or the status of its license or anything else, they could get that from the police department. That's where the registrations would be maintained. That's where any official action on those registrations would be maintained. In terms of whether or not a successor business would be treated the same, it's done as a condition subject to discretion on the interest of justice. So it's that the police department can continue to prohibit, suspend, revoke, or condition a registration of a successor business as necessary for the interests of justice. There may be some levels for gradients in what comes before the city on a successor application, entirely different management, an entirely different organizational structure, safeguards, agreement to allow greater levels of access from the police department. There could be a bunch of different factors that come in a successor registration application after a revocation. And those would be all things that the police department could consider after that cooling off period to determine on how to treat that business going further. It's not a one size fits all solution to what happens after that 1 year cooling off period.
I guess I'm trying to see how we can protect the new buyer to businesses like that. If they are, on contract to buy a business for, let's say, $200,000, they cannot get registration done with the police department.
So there's obviously an opportunity for dialogue there. There's an opportunity for education first and inquiries. And there's an opportunity for successor businesses to structure their organization in ways in which they can address root causes and hopefully address the city's satisfaction that the next business will do business differently than the prior business. It would all depend upon what that looks like. Obviously, as you're well aware of, also businesses do their due diligence before they acquire businesses. They do look into those actions by.
So, Councilmember Leanne, the 1 year cooling off period is an optional tool that the police department and specifically the police chief could use. It's not a requirement. So, if a business was sold, it was sold at an arm's length transaction. It was sold to somebody who, in the discretion of the police chief, is going to operate differently than the violator, then there would not necessarily be a 1 year cooling off period. If it was sold to the spouse of the person who was doing the wrongdoing and it was clearly a straw man transaction, that wasn't above board for $1, then the police chief would have the opportunity to have a 1-year cooling off period. If there was a transaction that was somewhere in the middle,
Members.
then the police chief would have the opportunity to say, I'm going to place conditions on this license. If you act badly, this will be immediately revoked. If you don't act badly, then the conditions will fall off in 6 months or 1 year. So this is simply a tool. The protection comes from the fact that they'll get due process. They will be applying with the police chief, and they will have the opportunity to tell the police chief how they acquired the business and exactly what's going on.
I just want to verify. Thank you, Chief. Sorry that you, what's the wrong question for you? Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Lian. Is there anyone else that would like to speak on this item? Any council members? Okay, well, I just want to make a few comments. So I want to thank you for your presentation. Thank you for all your hard work, you and your team. And I really like this comprehensive local control on the delivery of medicinal cannabis. And I just want to, when I looked at the detailed and the strong implementations on it, they're really, really good. So this is a great ordinance. So I'm going to ask the city attorney, Milpitas, to read the title of the ordinance.
The title of the ordinance you're considering today is an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Milpitas, amending the Milpitas Municipal Code, Title 11, Zoning, Planning, and Annexation, Chapter 10, Zoning, Section 13, Special Uses, Subsection 13.5.15, Cannabis Uses, related to the prohibition and regulation of cannabis uses, establishments, and operations to the fullest extent allowed by state law, and making findings of exemption from environmental review pursuant to CEQA guidelines section 15061B3, 15183, 15305, and 15378.
Thank you very much, city attorney. And now we will call for the motions. So we have Councilmember Chua.
Thank you, Mayor.
Oh, actually, Vice Mayor. Sorry about that.
Thank you, Mayor. Move to approve recommendation from the Office of the City Attorney regarding this item number 15.
Thank you. And then we have a Councilmember Bar.
Second.
And so it is moved by Vice Mayor Chua and seconded by Councilmember Barbadillo. So let's move for the vote.
Councilmember Barbadillo.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Chua.
Aye.
Councilmember Lian.
Aye.
Councilmember Fan.
Aye.
Mayor Montano.
And I am an aye. Okay, passed unanimously. Great, now we're moving on to item 16, City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. This item is a presentation of the report for the quarterly prioritization process. Council and our Assistant City Manager, Matt Kano, is here to lead the discussion.
Thank you, City Manager Thomas and Mayor and City Council. So as City Manager Thomas mentioned, this is our quarterly presentation on council requested work plan items. Next slide, please. As a brief background, in 2021, council provided direction for staff to bring forward individual requests from members of the council on a quarterly basis for council consideration. Since that time, there's been approximately 200 items that have either been prioritized or brought forward that are smaller work items that we are tracking as part of this process as well. There's a new policy that was adopted by the Mayor and City Council on January 10th of last year. And the last discussion we had on potential project prioritization was on November 14th. And we had items that are new to the list were brought forward for today's discussion, were brought forward between November 14th and last February 6th meeting. Next slide, please. in summary, there's 32 items that we're tracking that have been brought up by members of the city council for staff work. They are all listed with the status on the attachment 1 in your packet. There's items that are one item tonight that is group 1, an item that is deemed to be over 4 hours work that has not been initiated. There are 4 new items that staff determines requires less than 4 hours of work. And so we are moving forward with them without a city council vote, although there was consensus by the mayor and city council when they were raised for us to proceed with them. And there are 19 other items on this list that are continued to be tracked from prior discussions. And then there are 8 items that are deemed to be completed or combined into other work efforts. Next slide, please. There's one new item this evening that we're asking that has been raised since the November meeting that requires over 4 hours of staff time. So we are requesting that it be prioritized this evening if the mayor and city council wish us to continue to work on it. As a brief background, the affordable housing ordinance change idea was brought forward at the December 5th, 2023 meeting by Mayor Montano, requesting that we explore the possibility of amending the affordable housing ordinance to increase the level of affordable housing required for new developments from 15% to 20%. If this does move forward, we would like clarification on any specific stakeholder feedback that the mayor and city council would wish us to proceed with as we move forward with this item. And then also, it is our understanding from prior discussions that the mayor and city council would be okay with us bringing forward alternatives, such as if different percentages that need to be achieved if it's all extremely low income versus very low income. And so at this point in time, if this does proceed, we are planning on doing analysis on different types of percentage based on income types. But if there's any feedback on that, we would welcome that this evening. Next slide, please. So as a recommendation, we can stay on this slide, but the one-time estimated cost for the affordable housing ordinance change is between $50,000 to $75,000, and much of that would be for the staff work and outreach would be associated with a significant change to our ordinance like that. So this evening, we are asking you to review that affordable housing ordinance priority, and since that's the only one that that is the new over 4 hour work item this evening, as opposed to ranking against other priorities, we are just asking if you can take one vote to see if there's a majority of the city council that would like us to proceed with that. And then if there's any additional feedback or questions you have on any other projects, we're happy to take them at this time too. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you very much, Matt. So Matt, since I am the maker of that referral, I had introduced 20%. However, after speaking to staff and looking at the markets, 20% is, we don't want to drive away development in the city progress. But I would recommend 15%, but we really, really need to target our low and very low. So if you can come up with going to 15% or lower if there's a really low and very low income level housing for those housing for those very low income. That's what I would like to see instead of the 15% below market. There needs to be the very low because I don't think we're not addressing that as we should be. And if you look at our arena numbers, or not arena numbers, our housing element, that's the one area that we're very, very low. So we can look into that. So my referral would change from 15% to target the very low. So,
okay, thank you.
All right. So what would you want us to do now?
I would like to make sure there's a council consensus for us to proceed with this priority item. So there would be a vote that we would request of you.
Okay, we have a Vice Mayor Chua that I might make a comment here.
Thank you, Mayor. I know we want to target the very low needs of our residents. And I spoke briefly with Director Alex Andrade. And one of the things that we spoke about is keep the 15% and maybe to incentivize more low income development. Make it lower, maybe 12%, but there is a corresponding number of very low units. And I like that. I think it incentivizes the developers and at the same time encourage more very low units being built. If you can explore that option as well for the consultants to look into, I like that. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Yes, it come up with different options for that to address the very low income households.
Thank you.
So what would you want first?
Just
Oh, we have one more council member, excuse me. Okay.
Thank you, Mayor. And I'm glad you changed that to 15% because staying at 20% will really discourage developers to come in and build in our city. Our mission is to have affordable housing built. And if we are going to address the low, like Mayor and Vice Mayor mentioned, why don't we bring in experts to do a feasibility study to see what kind of inclusionary rate will generate the most affordable housing that is economically feasible for our city. And we do want to build. We do want our current residents to be happy, but also to really provide that need, the housing needs for our future generations.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councilmember Land. Yes, I think after speaking with Alex, there's I guess part of that study would also include getting a consultant to brainstorm, come up with different ideas, scenarios, different options.
Correct.
Okay, so what do you want from us
We
now?
would like to, if you could take a vote of the mayor and city council to ensure there's at least 3 votes for us to continue with this priority item, and then we'll put it on our work plan as part of the budget.
Do you want that after the public comment or now?
After.
Director Andrade, I think would like to say something.
Thank you, Mayor Montano. Good evening, City Council. Alex Andrade, Director of Economic Development. I just wanted to chime in to ensure that I was being transparent. So I have had conversations, certainly with some council members, and I do believe that exploring a lower percentage for extremely low and very low and low would be beneficial in terms of incentivizing more residential development. But after further research, just want to make sure that we may need to target even a lower percentage in order for this to actually pencil out. What will be needed is a financial feasibility analysis, which will be pro forma modeling to determine that the inclusionary housing requirements won't negatively affect the market rate housing development and the costs and profits for those developers. So I just want to give you a heads up and be transparent that percentage, based on if you as a council decide to move forward, that the percentages may come lower than in the teens.
Okay, thank you for that information. Okay. So
I think we would take public comment and then vote on the item.
Okay, thank you. All right, now it's time for public comment on this item. Is there anyone from the public that would like to speak on this item? We have Mr. Montemayor. Welcome.
For me, it's very hard. It's like extrapolating numbers. Numbers is sometimes like you don't know for indigenous group. So it's up to the council. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Montemayor. Is there anyone else that would like to speak on this item? Okay, so I don't see anyone. So now we will come back to the council discussion and feedback. So, what would be the, what did you say? I didn't hear you. Yeah. What would be the consensus for the council at this time? Is there anyone that would like to say anything on this item? Vice Mayor Chua, did you have something?
Votes. Are we
So we want to comment and then what,
Oh,
or make, even if you make a,
I agree with the
recommendation.
changes, both from you and Councilmember Lynn. So I would support this one.
okay,
Thank
great.
you.
Okay, so is there a consensus? So we'll start with we need a vote.
Councilmember Barbadillo.
Can we clarify, Mayor? So what are you presenting as a consensus? Is it
This is for
written?
consensus.
Basically to go, to have a staff come up with lower, to maybe go lower than 15%, because the whole purpose here is to provide low income housing, because we don't have any of that.
All right, so you're asking consensus for this to go forward, look at, what's it,
Right.
lower or higher. Okay, I agree with that.
Okay.
Vice Mayor Chua.
Aye.
Councilmember Leanne.
Aye.
Councilmember Pham.
Aye.
Mayor Montano.
And I'm an aye. Thank you, everyone, for that.
Thank you.
Okay. And so now, then we already did that. Now we're hold on. Hold on a minute. So now we're going to call on staff for the consent items that were pulled. So the first one was C6,
C5, Mayor.
C5. So that one, so I had a question on, I think there was a typo here because this is March 6th through the 14th. And and then the other line says conference March 9th through the 14th. So want somebody to clarify that?
Thank you, Mayor. I read back through the agenda report. The city's policy does allow council member to travel one day ahead of the conference so that they're there when it starts early in the morning. In this case, Councilmember Lynn will be traveling a few days earlier than that. And the city will cover the one day before the conference, but not the 2 extra days, I believe is how that will be handled.
Oh, so we are allowed to so we can go, like if I go to a trip, I can go a week in advance, but it'll be at my expense.
That's correct. That's my understanding.
And that's written somewhere?
The policy will allow the city to cover the expenses for one day
For one
prior
day.
to and after the conference.
Okay. Is there, if Councilmember Lynn, is there a reason why you want to go earlier than? Is there a reason? Is there a reason why, you're going another extra days? Let me just, Mike.
So I don't think it matters what day I leave, as long as I'm there for the conference. And the city is paying for the days of the conference and not the days that I am not there. So the hotel will cover the 9th to the 14th. And that's where the conference is.
I guess my main question is, as long as it's allowed, then we're fine. I'm fine with it. Okay. I thought there was a typo. Yeah, I thought it was a typo, but it's not. Okay. All right. Well, that I am going to make a motion to. Oh, there's and Councilmember Fan.
Mayor Montano, is there a reason you traveled to China, paid for by lobbyist expenses and misreported it?
Well, I'm not the only one that did that, and besides, you
No, I
That's
reported
actually-
it
I don't even want to
correctly.
discuss this. This is out of line.
It is not out of line. If you're asking people their reason,
No, it is out of line.
it is not out of line. You violated
And-
the law.
No, I didn't.
You violated the law.
No, I didn't.
You violated the law. You broke
No,
the law.
I didn't, and
was
I don't want to
pure
discuss
illegal.
this, Anthony. I don't.
Ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, she is
And
ducking
no.
the questions once again.
Anthony,
This matter
my
is not,
case was dismissed, and I don't even want to talk about this anymore. You're out of
She
line.
doesn't
You're out
want
of
to talk
order.
about it. Breaking
You're
the
out of
law,
order.
folks. Breaking the law.
this matter is not agendized. So if we can stick to the matter that's agendized, please.
Okay, moving on. We have a code of conduct, everybody. And obviously, people don't follow this code of conduct. Okay, no, my case was dismissed, and I don't even want to talk about it anymore. We're done. We're done. All right, we need public comment. And now it threw me off.
Oh, for me, I'm just speaking for myself. I've been once ambassador of goodwill, talking about country to country. In other words, I think as long as it's necessary and the schedule is not disturbing the number of jobs in a city, then it should be all right as long as there enough budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Montmayor. So we were going down the line. See, he got me upset. Can't even think straight. So item C5, we were going on down the line to approve it because I had made the motion to approve it, and there was a second by Councilmember Chua.
Mayor, we have not had a motion and second yet.
No, I made the motion to approve the C5, the one that we were discussing.
Okay, I second.
And she seconded it, and then that's when we were thrown off by, okay. All right. So that's going to be approved. We just approve it. Okay, next,
Mayor, I'll call the vote.
take a vote.
Councilmember Barbadello,
I got disgusted.
Vice Mayor Chua,
Aye.
Councilmember Leanne,
Aye.
Councilmember Fan,
What's disgusting is your racism.
What that?
Mayor Montano.
M and I. Okay, C6 now.
Just a quick announcement on that one. This item is a summary of the legislative efforts. We have our Assistant City Manager, Matt Kano, here to answer questions. I believe this is called up by the mayor. I think. Do you have questions on that?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I'm really glad that we're doing this because it keeps us updated on the legislative bills that are put forth. And I'm really glad that I just wanted to commend you on all the hard work that you're doing because it allows us to be informed on some of the bills that are the good ones that are great for our city and then the bad ones that are not so good for our city. So basically that's why I pulled it. Just want to commend you for all the hard work you're doing.
Thank you, Mayor. It's definitely a team approach with the leadership team here. Thank you.
Thank you. And then public comment on this item. So we have C6. Okay, so I second that. Okay, call for the vote.
Vice Mayor Chua,
Aye.
Councilmember Leanne,
Aye.
Councilmember Fan,
Aye.
Mayor Montano.
And I am 9. The next item is item 9, C9, that was pulled by Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to call on Chief Jason. Just one quick question. What problem are you trying to solve by shifting the fire inspector to battalion chief?
Good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council, City staff. Jason Schoonover, your fire chief, and happy to answer any questions you have regarding the fire department's mid-year reclassification proposal. Thank you for the question, Vice Mayor. So currently, the fire department relies on one single battalion chief who runs administrative battalion chief who works on Monday through Friday schedule, who manages three distinctly different but equally important functional divisions of the fire department. These include the training division, the emergency medical services division, and the offices of emergency services. As the city and the fire department have grown over the past couple of years, we've recognized that there's a significant administrative workload imbalance that exists in that division. And the proposal in front of you this evening is what the fire department feels is the most fiscally responsible manner to resolve that workload issue and continue to provide, the best level of service that we can to the community, working within our current budget. Happy to answer any other questions.
I just want to say that I like your strategy for moving that position and making that EMS battalion chief, because the way I see, besides needing it, we need it. Beside that fact, is also it gives a pathway for internal promotion, because the captain can be a BC battalion chief, the engineer can be captain, the firefighter can be engineer, and we have an opening for an intern or a new firefighter. Thank you so much. I appreciate it a lot. I'll support this one. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Are there any other questions? I'm happy to answer them. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so do you want to go ahead and make the public comment? I wanted to welcome.
I wasn't able to talk about C6 and then C9. Of course, we have to shuffle and put improvement. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? All right, so now we'll, there was motion, it's going to be a motion by the person that pulled it out, so.
Motion to approve C9.
And I will second that, and let's call for the vote.
Vice Mayor Chua,
Aye.
Councilmember Lian,
Aye.
Councilmember Fan,
Aye.
Mayor Montano.
And I'm an aye, so passed unanimously. Thank you, and congratulations. Also now, announcements and future agenda items. City Manager, do you have any? Oh, Councilmember Vice Mayor Chua, you have a comment?
Wes? Oh, okay.
All right, hold on. Okay, City Manager, you have any announcements?
Thank you, Mayor. No announcements tonight.
Okay, we have one from Vice Mayor Chua.
I would like to request the city manager, I'm sorry, maybe city manager and city attorney to look into catalytic converter prevention ordinance. I've seen it with other cities. Maybe we can explore if it's applicable to Milpitas. Consensus.
Thank you for that, Vice Mayor. I also have one, so,
Need to do consensus.
oh, we have to go to consensus, okay. Moving on to consensus, who?
Vice Mayor Chua,
Aye.
Councilmember Lian,
Aye.
Councilmember Fan,
Aye.
Mayor Montano.
And I am an aye. Okay, so I have one for, I'd like staff to look into a friendship city with the Guwahati, India, and just to see if that's a possibility. I don't think it's going to take a lot of hours, but I'd like a consensus for that. maybe other cities as well, but for now, I think this Guwahati, it's not a sister city, it's a friendship city. It doesn't take any financial, it's not a financial burden for our city. Okay.
Vice Mayor Chua.
Aye.
Councilmember Leon.
No.
Councilmember Fan.
Nay.
Mayor Montano.
And I'm an aye. Okay. And the other one is I'd like staff to look into a retreat so we could, there are some issues here. So I may think we have one in the books. We have one in March. Is that the one?
Well,
That's more like goal setting. This is a totally different.
right, we'll do a little bit of both.
Yeah.
We were hoping to hold that session on March 15th. However, there's various council members are not available on that particular date, so we've moved it into April. But
Yeah, that's more goal setting. But
we'll cover.
If you can look into that.
We'll cover both.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. So city. Okay. City.
Sorry, one last
City
quick thing. Earlier tonight, the item was brought up about the shopping carts. So we had sent, the city manager's office had sent an email to the council about that back in January. We will update that with the current program and provide you with the details on how we're proceeding with that issue. I just wanted to let you know that we do have something in place, and we'll send the information around to the council as soon as we can.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Meeting adjourned. So immature.